And good morning, Muskegon. This is On Muskegon, and I'm Jim Riley, your host for this friendly little community conversation. And I'm here in the Muskegon's beautiful, snowy, cold, Clear Channel studios with my friend, engineer, the legendary, the big double O, Oscar Osbo. Morning, Oscar.
Good morning. And hey, it's nice to be back here, sort of.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is sort of nice. Yeah, well, we've been
I was
around
sleeping
a
the last couple of weeks when we recorded.
That's right.
The
show, we've been recording our shows the last couple of weeks as vacation took priority, but we are back live this morning and back again to help us out in studio this morning is columnist, mom, all-around smart Muskegon woman, conservative woman, Tammy Derwin. Morning, Tammy.
Good morning.
As we talked earlier off air, the left has said that females, are clearly not conservative and clearly, are in the loving kumbaya mode. And while that might be the truth in certain groups, there's plenty of conservative moms out there that are interested in the future.
So. Yes, indeed.
And of course, I mentioned that you're a columnist, and one area that I would strongly recommend that you folks go to, and I would just Google this, just go to Liberty Review 76, and that's your blog, and you really put up some excellent columns. I loved your most recent one, which you had a word that you
Obama-tanic.
Obama-tanic. Worth the effort to track that down. Hey, we've got a busy morning here. We've got Jim Chiodo from the Ottawa County Patriots calling in just a few minutes. And at the top of the hour, we will be getting in touch with, from the Detroit area, gentleman Dave Sheldon, who is the president of Michigan Stop Smart Meters. And we're going to talk about these smart meters that are being installed as we speak here in Muskegon County, and find out what's probably not good about them. Although we'll ask some questions to find out. There may be some benefits, but he certainly is not for it. So we'll spend some time going into that. And by the way, this is a really, I think, important issue because once again the government, along with its monopoly, the local utility here, are going to be forcing in certain things that will be getting very specific information about your home. So a lot of discussion about that in the past. There will be, actually, Tammy, your mom has been really a leader in putting together a group that's going to be meeting this coming Thursday, 7 o'clock at Muskegon Community College.
Yes. And
the Blue and Gold Room. It's a free event where the gentleman who's phoning in today, Dave Sheldon, will be live and make a presentation. So if you want to attend that, Dave Alexander from the Chronicle did a wonderful article, I thought. He showed his skepticism of our skepticism, which I think is great. But thanks to the Chronicle for helping promote that. People have mentioned to me that say, hey, Jim, sometimes we can't hear the end of the show. So I'm going to hit some of the things that I do hit at the end of the show, just so that you are aware of it. I spend an awful lot of time surfing the web, and I do put the articles that are of interest to me on my MuskegonPundit.com blog, and that's all one word, MuskegonPundit.com. And that's what I use for show prep. So if you're interested in things that we've talked about on the show, you can always go there. We do post the entire show on onmuskegon.com. Again, that's all one word, EYE, onmuskegon.com. And we post that on Sunday afternoons. And if you are interested, you can look at any of the past shows that we've had. We have every single one of them up there on YouTube and with an easy link on the On Muskegon website. And also, for those of you who are, a lot of people don't realize that there have been changes in radio, of course, over the years. And every weekday morning from 8 to 9 o'clock on 1090 WKBZ, if you're listening to us right now, you've got the radio there. But if you are listening to us on the Internet, you can listen to 1090 WKBZ on the Internet. And every Monday through Friday, John Van Wyck and Brian Worsham have a great show called Talkin' Muskegon, and they have allowed me to be on that show Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So you can catch us there. We talk about things that are going on in town, and we do have, I think, kind of a unique flavor. And, of course, Oscar, with his grand connections with major media, has gotten the Eye on Muskegon show on every Monday night on primetime.
Okay.
On Comcast Channel 397. Well, we do appreciate it. Or if you've got rabbit ears out there, like I'm going to be going to, I think I'm going to drop my cable TV. I don't find I watch it enough. But anyway, if you got rabbit ears, TV 38. So thanks for that. But you can track down what we're talking about on the web at the Muskegon Pundit or eyeonmuskegon.com websites, and you can watch us on TV. You can watch us on the internet, and you can listen to us live here on the radio. And
it's too much excitement for anybody.
Well, it is. Well, you know what, though? There is a real emptiness when it comes to information about Muskegon County. Now, the Chronicle and through M Live is really doing, I think, a pretty good job. And we are, but they kind of they go the Joe Friday from Dragnet, just the facts, ma'am. And we try to expand that a little bit, and with commentary and maybe a little different view than you might get from those good folks over at the Muskegon Chronicle. And one other one, when you go on Facebook, and of course you can go to my Facebook, which is Jim Riley. Just plug in Jim Riley. Sometimes you may have to put Jim Riley Muskegon in Facebook, and you can get to my Facebook site, and you can communicate with me that way if you are interested. But also, Muskegon County Board is just a great Facebook site that different people contribute to it, but it talks about the events that are going on in Muskegon County, again, with a little different point of view, so that there's an opportunity for you to maybe not just take what the elected officials want you to hear. And I would just like to start off with a quote. This is one of my favorites from Winston Churchill, but it has something to do, I do believe, with this smart meter, and which of course is tied into global warming and everything else. Winston Churchill: socialism is a philosophy of failure, the creed of ignorance, and the gospel of envy. Its inherent virtue is the equal sharing of misery.
Oh, I agree 100%.
It's always hard to argue with Winston Churchill, but if you look at where socialism has been tried anywhere in the world, in the history of humankind, and certainly in the United States, where the single most socialistic areas in the entire country are in the large liberal cities, what you do have is the inherent virtue of equal sharing of misery. And the worst thing is that, in fact, what you have are these super rich at the top, and then you have all the little people living in tiny little apartments and things of that sort. And so we don't want to expand that. But today is February 17th, and there's a couple of events that happened on this day in history. One is the birthday of economist Thomas Malthus. And you may not have ever met Mr. Malthus, given that he died in 1834. But he was the gentleman, and very highly esteemed in his day, and certainly much quoted even recently, who said that because of the expansion of the population, we would soon run out of food. Now, he said we would run out of food. The Earth in the 1800s, many people have, in particular in the 70s, have said mankind will run out of food, not giving any credit whatsoever to the ingenuity of mankind to come up with ways to manage growth and to, in fact, find other ways to produce food.
There's spam, so there you go.
Well, interestingly, I understand on the cruise ship that's what people were eating quite often were spam. But the reality is that all the doom and gloomers out there say, if you don't give us your money, if you don't give us your power and your freedom, you will starve or you will run out of power or electricity and other types of energy. It doesn't work. It hasn't worked. Humankind has the ability to adjust, and as long as governments don't get involved,
they prosper. Yes.
Well, generally they do, and in this kind of mode of how did that trusting of government work out? Today is the anniversary in 1909 of the death of Geronimo. Who passed away in Oklahoma, and of course Geronimo on numerous occasions was approached by the American government, the United States government, promised all sorts of things, and of course ultimately died in I believe he might have been in a prison at the time, but understandably unhappy with the promises given to him and his people.
Big surprise. By
not just government, sadly by our government. And two other quick things I want to hit on that have to do with gun control. Today is the anniversary in 1992 when a gentleman was sentenced to life in prison. Jeffrey Dahmer, the wonderful human being who didn't use guns to murder and ultimately eat. He used stew pots and knives, kitchen utensils. One would wonder if any one of those poor young people who were murdered, and some of them actually eaten, how they would have maybe continued to live had they had a firearm, some way to protect themselves from this monster. Clearly, the police, the government of Milwaukee, all those people who have promised to protect those folks, they did nothing. As a matter of fact, Dahmer was only caught because of one of his young victims was somehow able to escape.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be depending on government protection, as Mr. Geronimo and others did, you might want to think again. And this is coincidental, and just a few years later, this is the anniversary of the date that another gentleman, Colin Ferguson, not the actor, but a attractive black man, came to America from Jamaica. He was sentenced, convicted of 6 counts of murder. And you may remember on the Long Island Railroad, he decided he didn't like white people. Took a gun that he had purchased in California, which had very, very strict the rules against purchasing handguns. And he murdered 6 people, severely injured 17 others. He was convicted on this day in 1995. So again, let's not, it's wonderful when government promises things, and it sounds good. It might make a lot of folks all, fuzzy and warm and kumbaya-ish inside. But really, the realities are that government makes far more promises that it cannot deliver on than it does deliver on. And certainly when we have this wonderful music in the background, we will promise and we will deliver to come back after this break.
Oh, don't you love me sometime? You dadgum government, you saw it so-and-so's. You got your damn hands in every pocket of my...
And as promised and delivered, On Muskegon is back. Jim Riley, Tammy Dearwin, the legendary Oscar Osbo. And also, as promised, what we didn't deliver, we thought we were going to have somebody calling in, and we might still, about the upcoming the Michigan Republican Convention, which is coming up this weekend. And there's a bit of a to do, because there's a large group of folks that are unhappy with the direction of the Republican Party, the sliding towards the moderate side. Certainly, the lack of success in national elections, the Senate, and things of that sort, and very similar to what we have experienced here in Muskegon County, where a group of mostly younger folks have gotten involved and have been able to bring some energy and enthusiasm in and change the direction of the county party here in Muskegon. So I think that's kind of cool.
Yep.
So anyway, a couple things that have happened in Muskegon, and I'll just kind of run through them kind of quickly. And Tammy, Oscar, jump on any that grabs you. But, here we have a state that's got significant problems. And we've got a group of people, matter of fact, the state employees, that have decided that schools that have Indian mascots, they should be shut down, somehow punished and forced to change their mascots. And which is, the perpetually offended are going to be perpetually offended. But what I found interesting was the stretch that was made by the Muskegon Chronicle folks. And the question of the day just a few days ago was, should the Muskegon Big Reds change the name of their mascot? So is red now an offensive term? We know that there are words you can't say, but now are there colors that are now...
Well, it's just like 13 had that thing about it was Gary's Guns. It was a billboard that was put up that wasn't taken down, that was pointing a gun, and the other billboard next to it was a little kid. So it was like pointing guns at kids. It's like, where are they going to go with all this stuff? I don't, people see it and say, oh my, we got to take that down now.
Exactly. That kind of mentality will win if we bend over and accept it. Mm-hmm. And but I just thought, it didn't seem odd that we should have a discussion. Is the Big Reds offensive? Well, clearly it was offensive to somebody, but maybe we ought to just not bend over any longer.
No.
We've been bending over quite a while.
Well, speaking of bending over, maybe more from lethargy than politics. But here's a nice headline: Muskegon County and West Michigan have higher ratio of medical marijuana patients than the rest of the state. Mm-hmm. So another thing to be proud of here in Muskegon, and I know there was a discussion just this past week. It was a public discussion at the Muskegon County Board of Commissioners where they were talking about how do we get jobs and employers to come in, and we've got all these wonderful employees. And the disconnect was really stunning, because one of the commissioners said, hey, a problem that we've got is our kids are all drugged out, and they can't, he didn't say that term, but he said, they can't pass the drug tests of a lot of these companies, so companies are avoiding us for at least in part for that reason. And then we had another commissioner say, we've got the best the best employees, the best young people are all intelligent and rocket science and everything else. And here we have the highest medical marijuana patients than the rest of the.
Come on, when you smoke a joint, don't you get a little philosophy flowing and the juices going in the brain? I mean, come on,
dude, I do.
How many? How
do you think we do this show?
Bend over and take a toke, right?
Yeah, there we go. Is that really what we want to celebrate? I suppose certainly people do. Here's another one, and this one, Honey Bunch, when we were gone, found for me, because it was apparently thanks to the Chronicle. It was on the front page of the Chronicle, but I missed it on M Live. And this was a Michigan State Police audit that, quote, raised questions as to how West Michigan Homeland Security grant money was doled out. And it included Norton Shores and actually another community, which off the top of my head I don't recall. But I've complained about this as the Muskegon County has been receiving millions of dollars on Homeland Security grants. There is absolutely no follow-up, at least by the county commission, that agrees they must vote to accept these grants. In the county's case, it goes straight to the sheriff, and everybody trusts the sheriff, right? He would never, shift monies in a way that would be inappropriate. Well, the same type of trust in government was given to the folks who are involved in Norton Shores. I believe it was the fire department. At this point, there's no guarantee of guilt, but there certainly was enough that those people are looking at it. If you allow people to accept free money, government money, with absolutely no follow-up, you are encouraging stupidity, criminality, who knows what. Again, these are the things that are happening every day. And as we continue to consider giving our government more and more control over our lives, more and more control over our incomes, we want to take those nasty rich people, and instead of having them keep, let's say, an extra $10,000 a year that they might use to buy things or invest or hire people, give it to these government folks, that same $10,000. Who is really going to do the best investing or spending of that money? And time and again, we're finding, it's not. It's not being delivered upon. An item that I would like to mention, given that it looks like we're not going to get the call in on the state convention, but I am in contact with in a variety of ways with folks on the conservative side of Michigan Republicans, and the Cato Institute, I believe it was the Heritage group came out with a listing of the conservativeness, if you will, of Michigan congressmen. And the top two most conservative elected congressmen, these are the national elected congressmen, were Justin Amash and Bill Huizenga. So for those of you who really get horribly upset about conservatism, then you might want to have bad thoughts about these folks. But if in fact you are a Republican and you are a conservative, sleep well. These guys are doing the job for us, at least according to the Heritage Foundation. And I just thought that was kind of interesting. Another issue here in Muskegon County, these are headlines, but Muskegon County child neglect and abuse cases surge. Now, I don't know, and no one appears to know here from this article, if in fact it's because we have the social workers that are reporting it more. Maybe the reportage has changed. Remember the autism epidemic, which turned out not to really be an epidemic. They just reclassified what was autism, and in fact, then told us the numbers without letting people know that, well, really it hasn't changed. We just redefined it. But this is a very, very big deal, and the article originally suggested studies, and I have no reason to think otherwise, but studies that child neglect and abuse tends to happen when people are poor.
Yeah, I was going to say that, yeah.
And if that's the case...
Dad's at home more because he doesn't have a job, or,
Well, maybe it's dad. I don't know. I'd be real surprised that it's dad at home who's doing this. I suspect it's boyfriend at home, but it doesn't matter. There's any number of ways that you're going to have neglect. But the state's answer is to have more counseling, more social workers, more everything else, whereas the logical answer would be, let's do something about the economy so we can give, if being poor is a significant reason, wouldn't it make more sense to really work hard so these people wouldn't be poor? Have them, give them the opportunity to have jobs that would help them pull out of poverty. But instead, we are pushing marijuana use, medical marijuana use, and who knows what. So a couple of other interesting things that came up. Muskegon County's Child Haven, which is a place for these kids who have, it's kind of a last stop, if you will, that have been abused and they've got no place to go. Well, it's been managed, of course, by the county of Muskegon, the good folks there. It was shut down because the building was deemed unsafe. Again, these are the folks that we're giving our money, and not just the money, but we're giving the responsibility and the authority and the power to take the money and do the right thing with it. Clearly, in the case of children who were sent to the Muskegon County's Child Haven shelter, they didn't get the benefit of what we had hoped. Every one of those children has been shuffled out of that building, put into foster homes, emergency foster homes, totally disrupted. Again, this is government at work here in Muskegon. This is just reported the past week. So maybe we're not so fuzzy this morning, and maybe we're not bringing great news here. But the great news is that we can, and I believe we will, take control from those people who are delivering promise after promise after promise, and not delivering on those promises. Maybe we can start saying, "Hey, no, we're not going to give you this money. Big discussions, of course, in the city of Muskegon about development and the farmers market and the mall and the mess that our leaders who created the mall then tore the mall down, and now we got an empty city. But they're promising great things if only we will give them more money and more power.
Of course.
Of course. So, and of course, we have the other great piece of news: graduation and dropout rates are up in the Muskegon area schools.
Too much marijuana.
Well, folks,
Hey, dude.
Dude, I mean, I know it's very helpful on a radio show. Certainly my show prep with the water pipe of Berbalin. But we will take a break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about another government grab, and that is smart meters, right after news at the hour.
Oh, don't you love me sometime?
Be honest. Will owning a bigger TV help you get ahead in life? Will another pair of shoes make you a better person? Probably not. But what if you could speak another language? If acquiring a new language excites you more than acquiring more stuff, then wait till you hear this. As part of its biggest language learning event in history, Rosetta Stone is giving away demos of its powerful language learning software absolutely free. For your free demo, call 1-800-377-8189. And Rosetta Stone has made language learning more convenient than ever. Learn on your computer or iPad, then practice on the go with your smartphone or MP3 player without ever opening a book or memorizing boring vocabulary again. Do you want more stuff, or do you want a language that will last a lifetime? After all, it's all about priorities. To try a free demo of this powerful language learning software, call 1-800-377-8189. Again, get your free demo now. 1-800-377-8189. That's 1-800-377-8189.
The Talk of Muskegon is News Talk 1090, WKBC Muskegon, and heard 24 hours a day on WOOD HD2 Muskegon.
Every 1.7 seconds, a person is victimized by crime in the U.S. An assault occurs every 9 seconds. Home invasions are a growing trend. Now is the time to shield yourself. Port City Pistol, 4250 Airline Road, or PortCityPistol.com.
Sliding around on slippery roads isn't fun. Get new tires today. Smith Tire is locally owned and operated for over 30 years. Check them out online at SmithTireStation.com. They also service brakes, struts, and batteries. Stop sliding around today. Smith Tire, 499 Broadway, Muskegon.
You have two entertainment options this midwinter break. You could watch the Eric Roberts Movie Marathon on Lifetime, but I wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend option 2, Roof Off, Game On, brought to you by Subaru of Muskegon. A celebration of hockey, food, music, and the kids we love. Join OneFamilyOnePlan.org and other sponsors on February 16th and 17th. And if you're listening, Eric Roberts, we'd love to have you too. Learn more at roofoffgameon2013.org.
Fox News Radio, I'm Paul Stevens. As both houses of Congress hash out their own immigration plans, USA Today now detailing a draft White House immigration bill.
We talk about this affecting an estimated 11 million illegal immigrants currently in the country, but the president's plan would also open up potential legal status to spouses or children who are not yet here. Now, even though there is a bill in the works, the administration says the president still supports the ongoing bipartisan effort here on Capitol Hill to come up with some kind of reform measure.
Fox's Doug Luzader in Washington, Florida. Republican Senator Marco Rubio among those already criticizing the draft White House plan. 7 foreign workers from Greece, Italy, Britain, and Lebanon reportedly kidnapped in northern Nigeria. Authorities saying gunmen attacked a construction company camp and killed a guard. It's the biggest kidnapping yet in an area under attack by Islamist extremists. Britain's expanding horse meat scandal, now involving hotels, hospitals, and even schools.
On the packet, it says beef, but here in the UK, it turns out the meal inside may contain horse. It started with one British supermarket, but as a testing programme grows, horse meat has now been found in beef dishes sold in one of the UK's largest hotel chains, a pub chain, and even cottage pies served for school lunches. The meat may not be dangerous, but British Environment Secretary Owen Paterson is angry consumers have been misled.
It is completely unacceptable that any product should be labelled as beef and contains horse.
The scandal is also spreading across Europe, with contaminated meals found in countries including France, Germany and Norway. In London, Simon Owen, Fox News Radio.
Pope Benedict appearing in St. Peter's Square today for his traditional Sunday blessing. His second appearance since announcing his upcoming resignation, today marking the pontiff's second-to-last Angelus blessing before he retires, a conclave to pick a successor convening next month. You're listening to Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Listen up, ladies. Right now, Bare Minerals is inviting you to participate in a special nationwide giveaway of the mineral makeup everyone's talking about. That's right. We're letting everyone who calls try America's #1 mineral makeup risk-free. Just call 1-800-605-9867 to find out how. This is an exclusive radio-only offer you don't want to miss. You've probably heard about Bare Minerals Foundation. It was quoted in Glamour magazine as a magic eraser. Allure magazine, InStyle and Elle magazines, and Leaders in Beauty continue to rave about how Bare Minerals Foundation is naturally radiant and good for your skin. Now you can participate in our nationwide giveaway and see for yourself. Bare Minerals. Makeup so pure you can sleep in it. Experience the foundation that started the makeup revolution. Participate in this special opportunity to try Bare Minerals Foundation risk-free. And we'll also send you a free gift set. Just call 1-800-605-9867 now. Hurry, you don't want to miss this exclusive radio offer. 1-800-605-9867.
News Talk 1090 is the talk of Muskegon.
Well, you dadgum government, you sorry so-and-sos. You got your damn hands in every pocket of my clothes. Well, you dadgum.
Dadgum government. This is On Muskegon, and we are back again. And as promised, we're going to talk about these smart meters. I don't know about the rest of you out there, but I would hope at some point you're starting to realize that if the government or the monopolies out there start talking smart, it almost always is the opposite of. And getting into that, we have right on the phone now, gentleman, Dave Sheldon. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning.
And Dave, you are, I'm going to read a little bit of the information that you'd sent to me, and my golly, you have been prolific on the web, and a lot of great links if you just put in Stop Smart Meters. But you're the president of Michigan Stop Smart Meters, which is an advocacy group based in the Detroit area. And you are not just some guy who doesn't like meters and stuff. You've got a bachelor's in physics and economics. You got a master's from the University of Chicago. And you are a software engineer. I mean, you've been around a bit. You know what's going on. You can look at these things from a scientific standpoint. And maybe I'll let you start off. Can you just tell us what smart meters are and why the utilities are intent in putting them into our homes?
Sure. Smart meters are a new type of meter that does a number of things that the old meters didn't do. For one thing, they have the ability to send by radio signals to the utility and report your electric usage in a very fine or granular way. This could be once an hour, or it could even be once every 5 minutes. But they can report how much you're using hour by hour or minute by minute through the day. That in itself tends to disclose information about your household routines, when you get up, when you go to work, when you're not home, when you cook meals, and so forth. But that's not the end of it. The new smart meters are also to be a gateway to a new generation of appliances called smart appliances. And they all come with chips in them, and they are designed to communicate by radio with the smart meter and in turn pass information back to the utility. So once we get those smart meters in the home, they'll not only know our hour by hour or minute by minute usage, but they will also know which exact appliances within the home we're using at any given time.
Well, now that almost sounds like a good idea. It seems to me that if you the term knowledge is power. If in fact you know when and what appliances you're using during the day, and you sit down and take a look at it, you can analyze it and make intelligent, informed decisions to reduce your energy cost, which of course is likely to reduce your energy use. It seems to me like that's a really good idea.
Well, the problem with it is that the information is not being gathered primarily for the benefit of the utility customer. It's being gathered for the benefit of the utility, and we have every reason to think that this information will sooner or later be sold to third parties. It'll be sold to insurance companies, banks, marketing outfits. It'll be turned over to the government, probably without a warrant. All of these things is where the information is going to flow.
What evidence do you have to support what you just said? Because my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but my understanding has been that the utilities have said absolutely this information will not be shared. They've got a long history of treating their customers' privacy with the utmost concern. They're saying publicly, I know that in one of the articles that I had read, I believe it was the Consumers Energy spokesman Roger Morgenstern, who said that they in fact would never do what you're just suggesting that they would do.
I understand that they say that. Detroit Edison says that too on our side of the state. But the reality is two things. First of all, the temptation to do this is going to be enormous because there's enormous amounts of money that can be raised by selling the information. Plus, we have the reality that it's already going on in California. California state law poses no obstacle to them selling this information, and in fact there's been kind of a bidding war between different companies as to who will pay the most money for the information. We think it's only a matter of time because the utilities can say, well, we're not going to do this, but on the other hand, there is no state or federal law that prevents them from doing it. So what they say today will soon be forgotten. Once the system is in place, who's going to stop them from selling the information? That's our point. And the other thing, too, is that I think sometimes people get a misconception of us. They think that we're anti-technology or something. We're against progress. That's not really the case. I've spent my whole career in the technology field, research, basic research, and also software design and development. I'm very much pro-technology, as are, I think, most of the people that are associated with us. And so we're not looking to oppose technology. The thing about this thing that really sticks in the craw is that the utilities have never given any kind of rational explanation as to why they need to collect all this detailed information. Always it's going to be, well, we're going to help you to understand your energy usage, but we think that's a smokescreen. They want the it doesn't, and I hope you realize that I tend to agree with you, but I will play devil's advocate here to a certain extent. But the argument that has also been posited, aside from the fact that they promise not to do anything with the information other than share it with you so that you can make your life better, but also this will reduce the need for collecting the information by hand. In other words, this is going to be a more efficient, more technologically logical way of gathering the information for billing services. And that seems to make sense to me. That is a valid point, and I think some type of automatic meter reading system probably makes sense because it would eliminate a lot of labor that does not need to be expended. And I mean, of course, in the short run, you look at that and you say, well, it's going to put people out of work, at a time when the economy is not so good. And that's true also. But in the longer run, we do want technological progress does consist in eliminating jobs so that people's energies can be put in other directions.
Well, the buggy whip lobby still complains.
Perfect,
I'm sure.
Perfect example.
Well, I think if we look at it strictly from the technology point of view, it's a wonderful, innovative way to move forward. But we have to realize we are putting our trust in the government, and that doesn't work. And we already know that the government is building a huge collection facility out west where every electronic transaction is being recorded or will have the ability of being recorded.
Wait, I'd not heard this. Tell me a little more about
We
this.
talked about it last time I was here.
Well, I'm old and I forgot about it.
Well, they are building this warehouse facility that will be able to collect your cell phone, your conversations, anything that's done electronically, even swiping your debit card. So it's pretty reasonable to think that a smart meter could also be transmitted to a warehouse facility.
Well, but isn't it, again, I'll play devil's advocate here for a sec, but isn't it true that clearly with no dissent whatsoever, the utilities and the federal government have said, no, not in any way, shape, or form are we going to use this information other than to help you make your life better. Dave?
Yeah, I don't buy that. I think if that were the objective, it would be accomplished by other means. I mean, people could buy devices. If there were really a demand for that, let's just say the consumers really wanted that information, some company would pop up and offer you a home monitor that you could hook up yourself and get your own information.
Well, now, actually,
you don't need the utility company to do that for you.
I understand that those devices exist. I read an article within the last few months about someone who had hooked one up and found some interesting and money-saving things. But they did it on their own, and the information was kept within their own home.
Right, and that's the way it should be done. The thing of it is that the utilities have never advanced a rational explanation why they need all this. They talk in vague terms about the smart grid and how important it is that we make a transition from the old grid, electrical grid that we've had for 50, 100 years to this new smart grid concept. And, well, this is supposed to do all kind of things. It's supposed to be enable us to conserve energy. It's supposed to help with peak load management. It's supposed to deal with outage detection and a variety of problems. But they've never advanced any kind of sensible explanation as to why they need to collect all this detail. It doesn't make any sense. And we've asked this question again and again, and no utility company spokesman has an answer. It has never been answered.
That, to me, that's a compelling point, and unfortunately, it's not one that really hits you on the head with a sledgehammer. But if you think about it, they're saying we're going to force you to provide us this information via the machine that we're putting in your homes, but we promise not to use that information, even though there's no reason that the information needs to be sent to the utility. It could be still kept right within the home.
That's right.
So, in other words, I'm from the government. Trust me, I guess is kind of the way.
Right, exactly.
We talked about Jeffrey Dahmer and Colin Ferguson and Geronimo this morning, folks who either abused government trust or accepted it and didn't get really what they were promised. Let me ask you this. One of the things that Roger Morgenstern, and those of us who live here in Muskegon, Roger's been around at Consumers Energy as a spokesman for many years. Very nice, very pleasant guy, and I suppose that's why he was able to keep his job. But one of the comments that he had, is quoted as making, was, quote, "We actually show over the 20-year life of the meter, there will be a $40 million benefit to our customers in terms of energy savings." Well, $40 million seems like a lot of money. Why not take the 40 and run?
Well, the Michigan Court of Appeals looked at this issue, and they came to a rather different conclusion. They reviewed what the Public Service Commission had done, the studies that had been done or not done, and they said there's no solid evidence on the record that there are going to be any kind of savings for utility customers commensurate with what it's going to cost the utility customer. Bear in mind, the costs of all this are paid for by all of us, partly through our electric bills and partly through our federal taxes. But we're paying for this, and no utility in the nation has been able to show that, through a demonstration project or market research or anything like that, that the savings are there that more than offset the cost.
Are you suggesting that Mr. Morgenstern is, prevaricating?
Well, I think he's overly optimistic. He's got a position to sell for his company, and I understand that, and he is a nice guy, and I think he perhaps sincerely believes that there's some savings, but it hasn't been shown.
Well, but he says, and don't mean to beat you up on this, but one of the things that does always bother me is when the folks say promise significant savings. His quote is, "We actually show over the 20-year life of the meter there will be a $40 million benefit." unless he pulled that out of thin air, the term show indicates that there is some documentation or some data that people like you or I might be able to look at. Has he ever waved it in the air or done anything to show you what he's promising to show us?
I haven't seen it. Now, I am more familiar with what has happened over here on the east side of the state with Detroit Edison. Now, they were given permission by the Public Service Commission to do what they call the pilot study down in Grosse Ile and Harson's Island. These are limited test areas where they were told they can go out and install these meters, and then there was to be a period of time, I think it was 6 months or something like that, where they would observe the behavior of the customers and see to what extent are they using this information to cut back on their energy usage. Well, that pilot study was never completed. They never got results to show from those pilot studies that the people were in fact using the information. This is the biggest criticism, is that the vast majority of customers will never use the information. Now, and maybe some technophiles or geeks will use it, but most people won't. They're too busy to use the information.
Well, let's dig into that a little bit, because one thing that's always really got my antennas twitching, and they're twitching right now, is when a study is done using someone else's money, and a utility, of course, they are a cost-plus business, so whatever amount they spend, they get their profit popped on top of it because they do have a monopoly. But when they take essentially customers' money and they put it into a study in order to prove something, in order to show something, and yet they don't complete it, that's really got a fishy smell to it, doesn't it?
It does indeed, and that's what our Attorney General thought. Michigan's Attorney General at the time, Mike Cox, said this isn't right. They shouldn't have gotten a green light to go ahead and do mass deployment of these meters without completing the pilot study. And the Public Service Commission let them go ahead, and so they've massively deployed these throughout Oakland County, Wayne County, Washtenaw County, all without proving that there's any savings. And the Attorney General said, no, this isn't right, and he took the case to court. The Michigan Appeals Court agreed with the Attorney General that it had not been shown and this decision came down last April of 2012. It had not been proven that there's any savings, and they kicked it back to the Public Service Commission and said, do this over. You know, we want to see some solid data.
Now, during this time, these meters were being deployed, though, and installed in homes. Is that correct?
That is right.
Okay, so now that there's been this little more than or a little less than a year, this judicial decision, where does it stand?
Well, where it stands is that the Public Service Commission had to reopen that case. It was a closed case. It was their case number U15678, if anybody's got a pencil. But they had to reopen that case and completely review the question of whether these things are cost justified. Now, that case is in progress and probably won't be completed for, I think it's due to be completed sometime around May or June. So we're going to get a revised decision that may or may not support further deployments of the meters.
Now, David?
Yes.
I had some information here that these meters could cost the individual homeowner up to $500 per installation. Is that true?
I would be skeptical of that.
Okay.
I had heard figures more like $200, and the homeowner doesn't pay it all at once. You know, it's just put in as an additional monthly charge on their bill, so that over a period of time, they may have to pay $200 or $300, I guess, for these things.
Well, there's a capital cost involved in the device itself, but there's also cost in removing and disposing of the old meters, and of course there's the labor involved, and then of course there is the servicing over time. We know these old meters, they seem to last forever. You know, I'd be interested in the testing and the promises of longevity that are being made for these new meters.
Yeah, we've seen estimates that the new meters are only going to last about 15 years, whereas it's pretty well known that these old electromechanical meters sometimes often last as long as 40 years.
Yeah.
So there's quite a difference in life expectancy.
Well, you know, I'd like to, if we can hold these thoughts. Oscar's doing. He's either giving me hand signals for the blind, or he's suggesting that we're running out of time here for this segment.
Pretty much both.
Can we? Pretty much both. Can we keep you on the phone, and we'll take a break and come back and talk with Dave Sheldon?
Surely.
Thanks so much.
To the latest from spring training. Tune in to your hometown station while you're away on business. Hear live news as it's happening from the city it's happening in. Only iHeartRadio gives you 1,500 live radio stations from across the country, so you'll never miss a thing. Never miss a thing. iHeartRadio has 15 million songs to create your own music station. The Perfect For feature. Perfect for any mood or moment. And best of all, it's free. Download the app now at iHeartRadio.com. iHeartRadio is now available on the new Hewlett-Packard NVX2 with Windows 8.
Benton Chevrolet Cadillac GMC has extended your auto show savings. Right now, you'll still get auto show bonus cash of $500. Only at Benton. Get 0% financing on select models. Savings up to $8,000 on a 2013 Chevy Silverado. And $500 in auto show bonus cash. Shop the largest GM selection you'll find in Michigan. And nobody sells you a new vehicle for less. The time to buy is now. Plus, you'll receive the additional $500 bonus cash. And the biggest auto show discounts are waiting for you. Plus, we want and need your trade, and nobody is paying you more for it than we are. Get behind the wheel of a new 2013 Chevy Silverado 4x4. Payments as low as $198 a month. Chevy Cruze only $89 a month. Or a Chevy Equinox just $119 a month. $500 auto show bonus cash. Only at Benton Chevrolet Cadillac GMC. Both sides of Henry Street, Muskegon. But hurry, time is running out for you to save. It's where Michigan shops. Benton.
If you have gout, listen closely. That's the sound of gout silently attacking joints between flares. You won't hear it and you may not feel it, but if your uric acid level remains high, crystals can continue to build up in your joints. Over time, this may lead to attacks in other joints, constant pain, and joint destruction. So don't wait. For more information, go to goutinfo.com and talk with your doctor about ways to keep your uric acid at a lower, healthy level.
Renegade River in Spring Lake wants to buy your used handguns and hunting guns. Renegade River, your hunting, camping, and survival store. Stop in and check out their new and used firearms, sporting goods, Army and Navy supplies, and survival gear. Downtown Spring Lake, next to the police station.
The Talk of Muskegon. News Talk 1090, WKBZ.
Well, you dadgum government, you sorry so-and-sos. You got your damn hands in every pocket of my clothes.
And hey, it's not just the government's got its pockets, its hands in every pocket of your clothes. It's these utility folks that seem to have grown extra hands and have been able to find your pockets. And we are here today at On Muskegon talking with Dave Sheldon, who is, among many other things, the president of Michigan Stop Smart Meters. And David, off air, we are chatting about different things. And Tammy, you've got a point you wanted to jump on.
Well, yes, whether these meters are $200 or $500 to install, they will be passed on. The cost will be passed on to the consumer. And it just takes me back to when Obama mentioned that our utility prices will necessarily skyrocket. And I can't help but think that this is one of his ways of making this happen.
Yeah, he famously said, under my plan.
Under my plan, correct.
Utility electric prices will necessarily skyrocket. How's that sound to you, David? Because isn't this an idea to save money?
Well, it sounds like something that he might have said. I can't say that I've heard the quote myself. But
it's on YouTube. He said it.
Yeah. I think the where that would be coming from is that perhaps we need to ration our energy usage. You know, this country back in 2007 passed something called the Energy Independence Act, and part of the idea behind that is to make us more independent of Mideast oil, and that in turn may reduce the chances that we're going to have to go to war again to defend our oil. So, there's two drivers behind this: energy independence and also the global warming notion that, we're putting out too much carbon dioxide, and so we need to cut back on energy use in order to cut back on carbon dioxide. These are the drivers. We've had 4 presidents now who have backed these policies, beginning with the first President Bush in 1992. At the time of the Rio Conference, he informally committed this nation to something called Agenda 21, and that has to do with conserving all sorts of things, conserving energy, conserving land use, you name it. I mean, that's too big a topic to go into, obviously.
We did have a show on it a few months back.
Yeah. But then every president since then has pushed us further along this path. In 2005, we had something called the Energy Policy Act. 2007, the Energy Independence Act. In 2009, we get Obama's stimulus bill, and he appropriated $3.5 billion with a B dollars for smart meters. And that's the immediate driver. That's what's pushing all these utilities. They want to get their share of that money.
Well, let me. Now you're telling me something I didn't know. Are federal dollars actually being used to buy these, or what's the $3-some billion ultimately to be spent on?
Well, it's kind of like priming the pump. The $3.5 billion was to get the program kick-started. It's far from enough to pay for the whole program, but it was enough to incentivize a number of utility companies to start this process rolling. And the rest of the money they will get through their various public service commissions and give them permission to pass it along to the customer. Ultimately, probably 80 or 90% of the cost is going to be in our monthly utility bills.
So it'll be in the utility bills, plus it'll also be in the money that we borrow from China and put on the younger generation's credit card that we can't pay.
That's very true. And Jim, there's one thing we haven't touched upon yet, and that is this whole privacy argument is only part of the reason that we're fighting this. The other reason is the exposure to the electromagnetic radiation. And this is an issue, let me put it this way, there's a minority of our people, and it's variously estimated to be somewhere between 3% and possibly as high as 15%, but nobody knows for sure. They're what we call electrosensitive. These are folks that can immediately tell when they're in the presence of radio waves or electromagnetic radiation. They become ill immediately. I mean, they get headaches, they get nausea, they can't sleep at night. I'm not one of these folks, so I can't speak from personal experience on that. But a number of the people that are in our organization have that problem. And I kind of think of them like the canaries in the mine, and I'll tell you why. It's because, while only a minority of our population gets these immediate symptoms, we are all at risk. The entire population is at risk in the long run. I'm talking about like 15, 20 years out. For diseases like cancer, Parkinson's disease, other neurological diseases, these things are going to take time. We haven't...
Let me, David, Tammy had been looking at some information, because when I've heard of this fear that you are elaborating on now, the thought occurred to me, well, hold on, these devices are going to be outside the home, and they're going to be communicating, I would imagine, in a particular direction, but they're not even going to be in the home. But now Tammy tells me that she'd been looking at apparently these, you'd mentioned these smart, I love the term smart because that infers the rest of us are stupid, but these smart appliances are now going to be in the home. Tammy, jump on this.
Yeah, I looked up Brillion through the GE brand, and I was just amazed at how many appliances are already in production to handle the smart meter technology.
So they're sending out electronic data from your, let's say, your refrigerator out to the
smart meter.
So it's not just analyzing and recording your electric usage. It's sending other information?
That's what I understand. David, is that what you understand?
Yes, that is what I understand. And I think the utilities have certainly been less than honest with the public in disclosing all this. They keep repeating their mantra, which is all we're doing is measuring your total energy consumption. You'll hear these kind of statements from utility spokesmen all the time. It's just not true. They are gathering an enormous amount of data, and they're not being forthcoming with the public about it.
Now, I heard or read an argument to kind of explain it, where the smart meter is sort of like your Wi-Fi, and once you start using these appliances, everything will just go to that and then send it on, which means it could be intercepted by hackers or anybody of interest.
That's an interesting thought.
Absolutely.
Yes.
This is part of the privacy argument too, is that this data is vulnerable to hacking, and burglars who are casing your neighborhood may be able to intercept it and figure out who's going to be home when.
Right, which takes me to the Fourth Amendment, the right of the people to secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated.
Oh, that's
good for you.
Thank you.
Well, I'm glad someone brought that
up. Well, that's that's an interesting way of looking at it.
I mean,
but
if anybody
again,
can get it.
Well, I think it's important to maybe re-clarify that in the old days, how much you spent on your electric bill was not a political issue. It was not a moral issue. It was actually pretty boring. No one would be interested. But now, as it has become, certainly with the devout followers of Al Gore's, Pope Al Gore's Church of the Global Warming, that now, if in fact you are deemed to be using more than your fair share, as decided by the fair share people, I suppose, that you are somehow morally really deserve to be punished for your moral decline. And this is a bigger thing than it was in the past, because again, it didn't matter in the past.
Right.
You had a big car, you bought gasoline. That was your problem. It used to be that you were encouraged to be frugal, or at least intelligent about your energy expenses, because it cost you more. Mm-hmm. Now, apparently, government has found that $4 a gallon gasoline isn't enough, and whatever we're paying for our gas to heat our homes or our electricity apparently is not enough to change the behavior of Americans to the degree that is deemed acceptable by those people who are making the rules.
That's right. The old idea used to be that power companies would meet our needs, and that if our demand for electricity grew, they would build more power plants to meet those demands. The new idea is that the supply of electricity is going to be more or less fixed, and they're going to regulate us so that we don't use more than what they can supply. And then they're going to avoid building these new power plants by pursuing this strategy. That's the idea, and of course that's part of the global warming agenda. One thing I want to mention, if I may, Jim, before we run out of time, is that we do have a meeting coming up this Thursday at Muskegon Community College. We're going to be doing a meeting on smart meters, and we'll talk about all of the things that we've just been talking about. I will be speaking there, and we have another speaker, Diana Osterman, will be there as well. It's in the Blue and Gold Room at Muskegon Community College this Thursday at 7 o'clock, and we hope that some of your listeners will come join us for that.
Well, we certainly hope and expect that a lot of our listeners and a lot of folks in Muskegon County and adjoining counties will attend. It is a free event. Again, 7 o'clock Thursday evening at Muskegon Community College, the Blue and Gold Room, which is relatively easy to find in a somewhat confusing area. And we're going to continue to promote this during the week, too, on the Talkin' Muskegon show and others. But if we could go back to the health issue, because I have been one of these folks who has been skeptical about the claims of people talking about getting brain cancer from cell phones, and apparently there have been many studies about that have yet to prove any real connection between cell phone use and brain cancer. Are the types of radio, whatever emissions coming from these smart meters, is that similar? Is it a different issue? Is it the same? Why do you believe they're dangerous?
Well, a couple of things. For one thing, we need to look at the cumulative exposure from all sources. Maybe any one of these things wouldn't be so bad if it were just the cell phones or just the Wi-Fi, but when you add them all together, the direct exposure from radio and TV, towers, of course, and cell phones and Wi-Fi and baby monitors and garage door openers and what have you, and you just keep piling on and piling on, the cumulative exposure may reach a point that the human body really wasn't designed to handle, and nobody knows what that limit is, really. I can tell you that we have experts. The World Health Organization, in their most recent statement, said that this type of radiation is considered a possible carcinogen, and We have declarations by important doctors and scientists. Dr. David Carpenter, for example, State University of New York, has written extensively about this, as have others. There's a lot of information about experts and what they have to say about this on our website. That's MichiganStopSmartMeters.com. People want to see these studies, they can. Just from an intuitive point of view, we know that the human body is an electrical mechanism. Our body is constantly sending signals to the different organs by electrical means and also chemical messengers. But electrical signals are important for the body to control itself. Now, you create all these electromagnetic fields. They, in turn, induce currents within the body. And maybe the body can handle it, and maybe it can't. Nobody knows for sure.
Well, there's a significant difference, too, between a husband and a wife deciding to get a baby monitor in their home, or utilizing a garage door opener or a Wi-Fi router, than having the federal government step in and put one of these devices in every single building, multiple places in some buildings in the United States without anybody's choice, too, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think you just nailed a crucial point, and that is that these are not voluntary. We have a choice whether to use a cell phone or not, and many of us choose either not to use them, or we use them sparingly for situations where they're absolutely needed, but we try to avoid overusing them. We have that choice. We have that control within our own lives, and likewise, we have a choice whether we want to use Wi-Fi or not. But we have no choice about the meters. They're putting them in. They're forcing them on us. There was a story in the news recently about 2 women in Naperville, Illinois, that were arrested by the city police because they wouldn't allow a smart meter to be installed. And we've had similar incidents.
Wait. Okay, let's go back to that. How could you possibly get arrested if you say, I don't want a smart meter installed?
Well, because in Naperville, it's the city government itself that owns the electric utility, and they passed a city ordinance that says everyone shall have one of these meters. And if you try to prevent them from installing it, you're in violation of the city ordinance, and they have the police arrest you.
Holy moly! So the city? Oh, well, no, that's the answer. Then have the federal government take over, or certainly the states or cities take over all of the distribution, given that it is a national security issue, as we have been told so often. And then we can start putting people in jails, which in many cases, like here in Muskegon, we are looking for additional prisoners because we're looking for an excuse to build a new jail. So this is a wonderful opportunity for the growth of government and real high-paid jobs, too, right?
I like your humor.
I honestly, I wish it was just humor. It's certainly a thought. Who knows? We may have created a monster here. There was one final point, because we just about running out of time, but I had been assured, and I look at the various comments from folks in the utility industry, and they say you do not have to have these smart meters in your home, at least here in West Michigan, or at least in Muskegon County. And I spent a fair amount of time the last couple of days on the Consumers Energy site and looking elsewhere. Not found any possible way that you can stop this from coming in, even though they say that you can. Can you explain that?
Yeah, well, the utilities, the 2 big ones, Detroit Edison and Consumers, both have what they call opt-out plans or proposals that are before the Public Service Commission. They want to be able to charge you extra money if you're not going to take one of their smart meters. That's the basic idea. They claim that's going to cost them additional because they have to then manually read the meters, and there's a cost for that, and so forth. And they say we can't let people opt out of the smart meters unless they can pay extra money, and for that they need permission from the public service. So as of now, there's no official opt-out plan, as far as I know, with either Detroit Edison or Consumers. What they will do, though, I think, at least they do it here on the east side, is they'll put you on a delay list. If you object strongly enough, they'll put you on a list and say, well, we'll hold off on installing it for now until we see what the Public Service Commission is going to do. I think that might be the case with consumers as well.
Okay, could you do a little homework between now and Thursday when you come into Muskegon County and get us the information that specifically those who are interested in getting on a delay list, get us the either the web address or the phone number or at least some specifics as to how an individual might get on that delay list?
Okay, I'd be glad to do that.
All righty. Well, I think we are running out of time. Oscar's making frowny faces at me. David, Sheldon, you have been a wonderful guest. Thanks so much. This is a big issue. You may agree or you may not agree with this. You may think that this is just a bunch of tinfoil hat folks running around, and that's your right, but it certainly makes sense for you to educate yourself as to what's going on here. I know that Tammy and others have done the same, and you have an opportunity next week, or this week, Thursday, February 21st, 7 p.m., at MCC to get more information on this issue. So we'll be back after this break. Thank you so much, David.
Thank you, Jim. Bye.
Oh, don't you love me sometime? Ooh.
You're Gillian Anderson, and you're going to the 15th floor.
Yes. Yes, I am. That's why I pushed the button with a 15 on it.
Did you know that beetles taste like apples?
Excuse me?
Sorry. When I get nervous, I share unnecessary factoids.
How about sharing some necessary factoids instead?
Fingernails grow faster than toenails.
Guess I'll start. Neurofibromatosis, or NF, is the single most common genetic disorder of the nervous system, occurring in 1 in every 3,000 births.
Camels have 3 eyelids.
And on February 16th and 17th, NF Michigan will be part of Roof Off, Game On, a hockey festival and fundraiser in Muskegon. Live music, open skates for the kids, high school hockey teams from across the state, and more.
That's good to know.
There you go.
Slugs have 4 noses. Sorry.
It's okay.
Learn more at roofoffgameon2013.org.
If you need to lose up to 30 pounds or more, we have an important free offer for you. Sensa needs you to help us reach our goal of helping people lose 2 million pounds of unwanted weight. That's why we're giving away as many free 30-day trials of Sensa as we can in the next 24 hours. If you're ready to lose weight and help us reach our 2 million pound goal, call for your free trial. But hurry, every 15 seconds, someone says yes to Sensa. So free trials are disappearing fast. To guarantee yours, call now, 1-800-718-3929. In a 6-month study, one of the largest of its kind ever conducted, participants lost an average of 30 pounds using Sensa. Now you can too. The demand has been overwhelming. If you want to lose up to 30 pounds or more, call now for your free trial of Sensa. 1-800-718-3929. Strict limit of 1 per household. Again, that's 1-800-718-3929. 1-800-718-3929.
I installed a new fireplace.
I put in a kitchen floor.
We are a generation of do-it-yourselfers, masters of home improvement.
I finally got that sump pump installed.
Because today, it doesn't matter the age of your house or where it is.
Mine is 87 years old.
We built ours last year.
It doesn't matter whether your home has a basement or is on a slab. There's one home improvement you can't live without.
Testing for radon.
Testing for radon.
We found we had a problem.
A toxic gas produced naturally in the soil. Radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer. You can't see it or smell it, yet nearly 1 in 8 homes in Michigan have elevated radon levels. So unless you test for it, you won't know you have it until it's too late. Call 1-800-RADON-GAS for information on testing your home now. That's 1-800-723-6642.
It's the easiest test you'll ever take.
Make this the one home improvement that'll ensure you'll be around to enjoy all the others. A message from the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality and the Michigan Association of Broadcasters.
If you have gout, listen closely. That's the sound of gout silently attacking joints between flares. You won't hear it and you may not feel it, but if your uric acid level remains high, crystals can continue to build up in your joints. Over time, this may lead to attacks in other joints, constant pain, and joint destruction. So don't wait. For more information, go to goutinfo.com and talk with your doctor about ways to keep your uric acid at a lower, healthy level.
Geico says, let's make life simpler.
What's the old saying?
Build a better mousetrap and the world will beat a path to your door. The trouble is, a lot of mousetraps aren't any better. They're just new. At Geico, we've been saving people money on car insurance since 1936. That's over 75 years of savings. It's simple logic, really. Why not go with the company that's invented the mousetrap? Of savings, that is.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Be a survivor, not a statistic. Renegade River in Spring Lake has new and used handguns, hunting guns, sporting goods, and survival gear. Protect your rights and your freedom. Ask about their CPL classes. Renegade River, next to the police station in downtown Spring Lake.
Fox News Radio, I'm Karen McHugh. There seems to be no escape from spiking gas prices.
Drivers felt another painful pinch last week, with gas jumping 12 cents to a national average of $3.67 per gallon, according to GasBuddy.com. Prices spiking 42 cents in the past month. Oil analyst Patrick DeHaan with the site says a big increase in February is highly unusual because of low demand, noting prices typically jump 40 to 60 cents in the spring.
Fox News Radio's Steve Rappaport. It'll be very wintry across much of the nation over the next few days.
A couple storms are going to move across the country this week, and there's going to be one for Thursday. Just a quick look ahead. Potentially a big blizzard for Nebraska. Nebraska needs snow, but unfortunately you're going to get some of that.
Fox meteorologist Rick Reichmuth. Meanwhile, much of New England, still reeling from last weekend's blizzard, could get hit with another foot of snow from Massachusetts to Maine. And there's a freeze warning in Florida tonight. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Well, you dadgum government, you sorry so-and-sos. You got your damn hands in every pocket of my clothes. Well, you dad.
Okay, get zippers on your pockets, folks, because the government has now found another way to slide their greasy little fingers into those pockets, and that's using...
Velcro's not good enough anymore.
Velcro is not good enough. Staples
Zipper,
are not good
lock.
enough. Zipper and maybe a super glue might work, but they're now utilizing the utilities to get into your pocket, and I would say that interesting. The headline on the news at the break was, of course, gas prices at their highest ever. Remember when gas prices were significantly lower than they are now?
Oh, yeah.
And how the media, in unison, top to bottom, was excoriating President Bush about what an awful guy he was, and how families were giving up pizza and giving up medical care and drugs and pharmaceuticals and everything else. And how awful it was. And now, for some reason, now that the prices are significantly higher and unemployment is way higher and employment is way lower, everything's supposed to be up is down, and everything's supposed to be down is up, as Al Gore, the Pope of global warming, has so famously said. But now they don't seem to be upset. Now just the expansion of big government is good for you, and we really promise, sort of like a 16-year-old boy on a date, we really promise this will be good for you, and nothing bad will happen. And I don't know if you're a female, you probably can relate to that a little more than a guy. But let's face it. Let's face it. That's exactly what's going on. Trust me. I'm from the government. I'm here to help you. But Oscar, you made I think, an extremely good comment, in particular coming from you.
I knew that was coming. I never claimed to be the sharpest knife in the drawer.
You've been taunting me off air, so I had to get a little bit. But go with that, because I think that's really of interest.
Well, I was saying the biggest thing that surprised me was when I had the paper coming from my pacemaker to say what I'm not supposed to be around, and listed just about everything on there. I used to have my cell phone in my breast pocket. I couldn't have a cell phone next to it. I couldn't have Wi-Fi. I couldn't have OnStar. I couldn't be in a car with OnStar. I couldn't be, around any electrical.
This is radio, electromagnetic, the same
Pretty
exact
much.
stuff we're talking about from these smart meters.
Right, and so they said I couldn't be around this, and this. I mean, they show you the different levels as far as dangerous. The main thing is not to be around power tools, but that's already a given for me anyway. So I don't consider myself very good around power tools. But anyway,
well, neither of us has extra fingers that we can afford to lose.
That's right. But yeah, the biggest thing that surprised me was the Wi-Fi, because I'm around my computer 24/7 just about, and same with the cell phones. I mean, Anything electrical magnetic field can affect the pacemaker. So, which means it could affect my heart rate, could affect all kinds of wonderful things. So,
well, there's clearly an issue. You have been told by your physicians, by the surgeons, and the folks that put this device in your body to keep you alive. They've told you that you've got to fear, or at least to fear these electronic emissions. So protect yourself and be right. Prudent about it. And yet we got the federal government at the exact same time, not just putting these things into your homes, but they're putting these into every building, every business. You go into a mall, each one of these stores is likely to have one of the smart meters sending out these emissions. You are not going to be able to escape this barrage. Can you imagine the increase in these emissions? I mean, it's not just in your own home. And yet there's been no studying, no testing to say, to at least hint that we're really sure they're not dangerous, when in fact we've got the medical community right now telling tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of Americans, watch out already. This is even before this.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of funny too, because the first book they gave me was about an inch thick, and then the second book was just like the ones to really watch for. It was just like a 5 or 6 page book, but it had everything in categories. But yeah, I just the alternative, of course, is not good. So I think I'll stick with a pacemaker.
Well, for someone with a pacemaker, yeah. Absolutely, the alternative is is death or
pretty
severe
much, yeah.
injury. And let's face it, we in America, well, we're probably going to see a tsunami of lawsuits over the horrible hurt, the emotional hurt that people in Muskegon have suffered by having to hear about Muskegon Big Reds, and our class action litigation in America is in part killing this country, and you can be sure that the class action lawyers are already preparing their briefs. They're already hiring additional staff to initiate these lawsuits, which will not be against President Obama or Mrs. Obama. They will be against your local utility. And if your local utility is sued and loses, no one in the utility is going to get fired. No one in the utility is going to lose a bonus. They're just going to add it to your bill.
Right.
And charge you more. So everybody's happy, of course, except for maybe you.
The consumer, yes.
Yeah.
I can already see Sam Bernstein already writing that into his commercials.
Sam.
Call Sam. Yeah.
Well, call Sam. And one would think that maybe Sam and the folks would be interested in stopping this before it happens. But of course, no, they're not, because they want injury, they want death. Right. And then they can take pictures and have a crying family and then get millions, or in some cases, as we've seen with tobacco and others.
Well, we already have the data stating that, the pacemaker is affected by certain things, so it's not that big of a stretch to think the smart meter is going to add to that.
It's clear.
Yeah.
The data's there, and then Tammy, you did this research on these new, which apparently is going to be all these major utilities within your house, where it's not just your meter sending out the information. Your refrigerator and your washer and who knows, probably your telephone and everything else will be sending information to the meter within your house.
And get this,
we already got any computer, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Right. And this here, it says, our new whole home sensor connects to the consumer's electric panel and allows them to understand their energy consumption without waiting for their electrical provider to install the smart meter. So there's more technology you can use right now.
Well, as I said, these you can buy meters that are not smart meters, but in fact these are little meters that you can buy yourself. They're relatively inexpensive, that will help you analyze your electrical use. This is, as far as I'm concerned, the health benefits are a huge potential, and again, why would you install them in every building in the United States, multiple of them in every building in the United States of America, without knowing for sure there's no health issue? But to me, even more important than an Oscar on his back, flipping around, which is very important to me, by the way, is the fact that these devices are going to be taking in any amount of information and sending it to a place where they promise you that, number one, we don't need it. Number two, we promise we will be judicious with it and make sure that the hackers don't get it, or far worse, the NSA and President Obama and President Biden and President Hillary Clinton will not do anything evil about it. Just as they promised Linda Tripp when she helped expose President Bill Clinton as a liar. Her supposedly private employment information was shockingly made public to the Washington Post and others. We are again running out of time. There's never enough time here to attend to all the wonderful things. But I would like again to remind you, this Thursday it's free, 7:00 at MCC. I will be videoing that event, and we will put it on eyeonmuskegon.com so that you'll have an opportunity to watch it at any time. This show, of course, sometime a little bit later on today, will be on online. Thank you, Tammy, Oscar, certainly the Stop Meter folks. We need more information. Next Sunday, Oscar and I will continue our quest for truth, justice, and the American way. And hey, at noon today, don't forget Renegade River Show, Mike Hewitt. Mike's asked me to be on again, so I'll be on in another 2 hours. Oh, my golly, it doesn't get any better than that. And certainly for some folks. And folks, you have a great week in our little piece of heaven. Next week, we'll put the eye on you, Muskegon.